So the intakes can like expel the cubes into the towers by lifting them up, and they're mounted on the two bar. But their main purpose is to funnel cubes up from the field up into the tray. I don't know. They'll show that soon, hopefully. Yeah, they'll show that really soon. Like here. This is their main purpose. And that's basically it. It funnels the cubes up the tray, and you can't really have like horizontal intakes here because you really need like for these games where like there's a lot of weight involved, like when you have like 11 cubes in your tray, like it becomes like several like many kilograms. It's like many kilograms in weight. So you really need like a ruler on each side in order to hold all these like the weight of all these cubes within the tray. And you can't really do that with the horizontal roller, which like spread out over such a like a large area for something, and those are only really used for like very light game objects like the balls from Turning Point, which was actually 2 years back. So like the good old days. So anyways, that's that. I'll post some other interesting reveals. This team was a skills champion last year. Basically, you can say high scoring robot, which is pretty good, which is really good. Sorry, and they done some interesting things as well. And finally, I want to link you guys a robot explanation video by Team 2014X. These guys they built very similar robots because they kind of collaborated, but again, one of the best robots, if not one, if like one of the best robots of that season. So, and they explain how they built it and everything, which is really cool. Okay. As always, if you guys have questions, just post in the chat, and I'm gonna switch to Inventor. Okay, so just let me know when you guys can see. Alright, nice. Okay, so this is basically the two bar we built a long time back. I've added a few things because otherwise this lesson will take like a very long time. So I added two aluminum angles in the front. This is basically the tray that we'll be looking at today. Because we're focusing on intakes, I'm just going to get this part out of the way. And I've extended the arms a little bit more. You'll see why that's important. Basically, the aim of this video is to build a robot, a tower takeover robot, very similar to what DiscoBots built. Like the general rule for like competitions, like just competing robotics in general, build something simple, make sure it's consistent, like have autonomous, have like lots of driver practice, and you guys should be good. Like don't go for like weird complex mechanisms like transmissions or something. Like 99.9% of the time you won't need it, and you might regret it. In my case, I certainly did, but I don't know. Just always keep it simple, and that's I believe is like something DiscoBots really did well. The geometry of the robot is like such that they don't even need like anti-tips in the back, which is pretty wild. And anti-tips were a huge pain. Okay. Alright, we're ready to start building intakes. So one thing you guys need to know is here, when like you put two C channels like this, screw two C channels like this, it basically becomes an O channel, and what we call this is boxing. Basically, you box it inside the C channel or something to make it like overall like the front of the shape like a box. So I did boxing here, also did boxing here. This counts as boxing as well because you're filling in the insides of the C channel. That's something pretty important to keep in mind. Okay. Let me switch this here. Okay. So now we can start building intakes. Okay, so
Well, the thing with boxing is that like while it looks pretty smooth, like the top teams make it look very easy. Once you get to the higher cube counts, your arms start to bend a lot outwards because there's a lot of force, right? You have two motors of force who are trying to hold in like a few kilograms of cubes. And so boxing just makes it so that it's harder to bend the arms out, I suppose. As the arms are being bent out too much, you start losing compression, and then like once you reach like the seventh or eighth cube, like it just doesn't want to go up anymore.
Yeah, exactly what Sam said. But it not only does it help like being pushed outwards, another like really big factor, if not bigger, is it prevents twisting. Because when like the cubes like it's like sustaining several kilograms of like force, like the if it's just one C channel, it'll start to twist. Like when you guys actually starts building, you can literally take a long C channel and twist it in your arms. Like metal isn't actually that strong, and by like smacking two together, it really helps that torsion. It really helps counteract torsion and
Yeah,
also
so
restrain.
basically when there's multiple types of boxing. It's not there's not just like when you can box a different you can box through like different manners to avoid twisting. Another way is just jamming spacers in there, and that reduces twisting, not to the same extent, but it'll help. So like we came across this issue last year around like the end of the year because we didn't replace our arms for like what was like approximately like 4 or 5 months, and cracks started to actually form in the metal almost halfway down the T channel. So we had to completely rip out the arms and rebuild them.
Yeah. So for like the areas of your robot that are taking the most on of force, you're gonna want to replace them quite regularly. Sometimes you won't even see the cracks until it's like 5 minutes before your next match.
Or during your
Um,
match.
yeah, or during the match. So just replace them often or use a stronger material. But even like at its strongest, like metal is not as strong as you think it is.
Okay, I'm gonna put the brace on the back right now because it's really bothering me not having it there. It just doesn't feel right. So I'll do it right now. And after this, we'll start working on the intakes. Intakes, by the way, for when you want to handle like several kilograms of weight, like quite a decent amount of weight. Let's just say it's probably like your physics textbook plus your chemistry textbook. Actually, wait, let me think. Yeah, your physics textbook plus your chemistry textbook. That's how much weight this like robots last year had to hold if you wanted to be competitive, which was probably like 9 to 11 cubes. In this case,
The cube was 250. Sorry.
wait, sorry, you can go.
I was just gonna add on the cube is like 258 grams. So if you imagine multiplying that by 10.
Yeah. So because of this, like most teams, like they were like the most efficient you can build it, efficiently you can build it. You can run around 200 RPM intakes, like green cartridges, like directly. There's some teams that ran slightly higher, which are like teams in China where they actually geared the intakes to make the first stage spin faster. And there's also some teams that ran 100 RPMs. Some China teams ran 100 RPM geared. But if you're running 100 RPM for torque, it typically means your intakes are a bit too slow. So just playing around until you get the most you can out of the same thing. I just lost where I last constrained it. Rip. Okay, I'm gonna want to box this as well. So what Ian talked about spacer boxing earlier is essentially what I did here. Like jamming material inside the C channel. Personally, I like using bearings like instead of all spacers because bearings have tiny teeth that align better. Like they align within the holes to make sure it doesn't like slip around. But spacers work pretty much equally well. Alright, now it's time to build intakes. Okay, let's make these flip down. Let me think. Okay, I see. So
Also, I'm not sure if Alan has talked about also quite a few relevant take. You haven't talked about that, right, Alan?
sorry, you kind of cut out. What did you say?
Sorry, I meant you haven't talked about the different ways to mount TT style intakes
No,
yet.
I didn't. You can talk about that. I did not talk about that.
Basically, there was last year there was three primary styles of intake, as
Oh
far as I
boy.
know. So there was flip down, hinged, and then there was hard mount. And so the first of which is the hinge. So many people had custom hinges. Vex also sells hinges that you can buy. And essentially, what would happen was as the angler was turned, so you saw the disco robot stacking. As the anglers turned, the intakes are pushed outwards. I guess you can say perpendicular of the arms. That's essentially the first manner of doing it. How it helps is that when you're fully folded in, when your intakes are fully folded in, when you're like in your like starting position for a match, you can be in size. Same idea with the flip down intakes. Generally, flip down intakes don't have that compliance in the plane that's perpendicular to. So with flip downs, you generally have to make something called an uncharted tray, or you had to do flip down and hinge. An uncharted tray is basically just like the bottom part of the tray is really, so like it doesn't collide with the metal doesn't collide with the intake. And then you have hard mount, which is again you can use uncharted tray for it, or you could do something more interesting where you essentially use like the material properties of metal and how it can twist to as like slight compliance. We did that at some point during the season. It wasn't that bad, but it's not suggested.
That contributes to metal fatigue. Like I actually ran that all of early season, and it actually didn't give me any issues. I was quite surprised. Just another quick note: Uncharted tray is also called cut tray. That might make more sense as a name. So basically, like the bottom section, like oh wait, let me get my rectangle out. Like this bottom section, like this edge and this edge would be like kind of form like a T shape. So you only have like one like thin part going through here. So the intakes can like slot through kind of. It'll make a lot more sense when the intakes are done. So
You can probably find a link.
I can find a video of Uncharted spawn. Oh, actually, I have a bunch of leaks. One sec.
leaks. Basically, my robot was Uncharted tray slash cut tray, so I can link my robot explanation if you guys need it. This seems like the right height. Okay, that's good. Should I run 7K
Yeah, so
intakes? Wait, sorry. I'll run 7K intakes then.
are you building 24 tooths?
I think 24 tubes might be a bit too chonky based on how the clearance is looking right now. Because it'll cut all the way
Oh.
here, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. 1812 then, right?
Yeah, 1812. I think Disco did 24.
We ran the numbers that we're saying essentially correspond to rocket sizes. So like the sizes of your sprocket matter a lot because 24 tooth because basically like angular velocity is how like it works. Basically with a larger sprocket size your intake can theoretically be faster. this doesn't always hold because there's losses that happen and things like that. But I think we ran initially 1818, then we switched to 1812, then we switched to 1212, then we switched to 24. 1212 was the most.
Okay, I lied. I'm doing 1818. 1818 actually works because teams like 2011, they did it, and their intakes are really good as well. Basically, what Ian said about angular velocity is something like I didn't realize till the season was over, which was sad. Basically, the smaller the sprocket size, the more torque you get out of them, which means your intakes will be slower, but you get more torque out of it. So if you run something like a 24 tooth intake, like Pylons did, your intakes will be like crazy, crazy fast. Like, it's not a huge difference, but it's very much negligible and very much significant. Like, basically my robot, it ran 24 as well. I could pick up like 6 cubes per second. Like, bigger sprockets means like faster effective RPM, which was really nice. And other teams like 7K ran like smaller sprockets, like 18 tooth sprockets, and they had like I don't know, like I think it's mainly for clearance and that kind of stuff, but they had bigger flaps, which means they had better reach, and also they all handled 11 cubes fine, whereas my robot kind of struggled with 11 cubes. So like small differences like those. That moment when you use 12 sprockets on your intakes. Nice.
Oh yeah, double sprockets.
Yeah.
So basically he's using 2 sprockets instead of 1. If I understand correctly, because chains are really easy to break. And since like if your chain breaks, you're kind of done for the round. Because you can't do anything except play defense.
Didn't your robot, Sam? Your robot last year literally. Your robot last year literally pick up like 4 cubes without chain, without when the chain went off.
That's an anomaly. Just
Another thing that this helps with is that basically because when you put chain on the inside, you're essentially gonna put generally tank treads on the bottom sprocket and then chain on the top sprocket. And what that does is it also helps with chain tensioning, because sometimes when you have weird spacing, your chain is either your like treads are either too tight or too loose.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you have to do a weird tensioner on like the side of the intakes, which can cause losses. So this also it just kills 2 birds with 1 stone. So it's a decent practice when you have the sprockets to do it.
Okay, this is really annoying. I have to bump it up. I can do this.
Okay, no shaft pullers. Let's go.
Oh shoot! I can literally stick one right there. It's okay.
It's fine. It's just always remember to put shaft pullers on your drive shaft, just so like your drive shaft just doesn't fall out immediately. Just as a rule of thumb. I was just taking shortcuts with CAD. With CAD, like you can kind of get away with a lot of things as long as you have a mental note not to do it in the actual build.
I'm gonna have to move this. But like some teams, like they're so good they don't even need shaft collars or something. I'm pretty sure Pylons just did friction fit. It's ridiculous.
Oh, isn't that really sus?
It is, but like they basically took like a square insert and hammered it onto a shaft. Zach also did a friction fit at one point. He like basically mushroom headed a shaft by like hammering one end so it's like slightly thicker and you shove something onto it.
Jeez. If it works, it works.
Exactly. But generally shaft collars are a lot simpler and they usually do the job.
Yeah.
Okay, these are some beefy intakes. Actually, no, they're not that beefy.
Wait, did you guys run hinges on like your stacking on your tray, like the bottom, the entire season?
Wait, me?
Yeah,
I ran hin.
and,
Let me
and
think.
iron. Yeah.
I never ran hinges actually.
We ran hinges early season, but then I switched it to screw joint later.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I feel like
hinges are
hinges are objectively better, but that's just my opinion.
Why are hinges better?
Because first of all, so the hinge, the rotation, it pushes it more forward because the hinge itself has like an extra bit of space forward, and so you can be a little bit further away from the glow zone when you stack. And that really helps with sizing issues. And I felt like when I had screw joint early season, what was happening was that when you start stacking, like the first cube, like it kind of just drops, right? But then the other cubes kind of like have a little bit more velocity than the first one. But if you have the hinge, it kind of pushes everything slightly forward.
I see.
There's like small changes, it's not huge. It's just so much easier to implement as well.
Yeah, that's true. I never had those issues because early I just did metal flexing, which was sus, but it worked. The late season I did hard mount, and hard mount's like the simplest and most effective. But
Yeah, I
it's
should
like
have went hard man too.
yeah, but it's like a pain to fit in size, and I had to cut many corners to make it fit.
Yeah.
Where are my spacers? There they are. Let's go. Okay, I think I see an issue. Yeah, I'm probably gonna shape the C channel down a bit, but that's IRL and CAD. I don't need to worry about it. Okay, one side's almost done. And again, just a reminder, green stripe means 200 RPM. Oh, whoops, my bad. 200 RPM, and this is exactly what we need for this situation. I can't see the hole at all. Okay, that really bothers me. I'll fix that. Actually, I'll keep that. Alright. I just need to mirror this on the other side. Mirroring stuff is pretty easy. You just hold down control and you copy all the stuff you want. And all the constraints hold there as well, so. If you cut, however, your constraints don't hold, which is really annoying. Which means you have to do it again, essentially. Just gonna bring all this over here. We're not gonna put chains on it today because chains are pretty hard to do in Vex, like in Inventor. We'll save that for a later date. Um, Intakes are basically done. I'm just gonna make one more finishing touch because it'll make the robot look 10 times better. I need to make the tray very, very long. Okay, I should measure these. Measure you can get by pressing M, by the way. 5.8. That's not a good number. Whatever. Um, Alright, we are almost finished. Just gonna put this one on and add one more stage. What'll probably happen like later in the year is like, because like we covered most of like the bigger mechanisms, essentially. Now like the rest of the robot like building process is to build like I wouldn't say smaller because these mechanisms are actually the hardest to do, but like I'll just say smaller here, like smaller mechanisms that are more tailored to like each specific bot to different specific games. And we might like we could probably like do a vote like someday and like choose a bot that we prefer the most and like actually like CAD it as well as we would build it in real life. So we'll like put in screws or whatever, like um maybe make custom parts, and like make sure everything clears properly, and if this robot was built in real life it would work and give it a really nice render at the end. We'll probably do that someday. That'll be fun. This will be the second robot then. The first robot would be the puncher bot. And hopefully this clears better. Nope, I need to add Teflons. And like with this, and if you chain up the front of the intakes to add like the tank tread rollers on here, basically all you need would be an angler and this robot would be pretty much done. After I make the tray longer. Oh my god, you're kidding me. Okay, this is gonna work. Okay, nice. And now I'll just show you guys how to connect this and then we're done. So to connect two aluminum channels, you're gonna want 45-degree gussets. And what you would do is you would put it like this. Oh, I have to deal with metal thickness. Okay, and I'll just spam Teflons for now, I guess. But the challenge of Tower Takeover last year, one of the biggest challenges was fitting in size. So basically that meant like all of your components had to like fold in. We basically made flip down intakes specifically for this purpose. So as soon as I'm done putting the last stage on, I'll show you guys. And also the reason why we don't just make like a huge ramp going all the way up is because we needed to fold down to like stay in size. There's like some pretty clever ways to do this. For example, like using like plastic or like sand walls really helped fit in size for a lot of teams. This is like more of a classic method that nonetheless worked really well. Oh, whoops. I have to move it one hole in. Okay, that's fine. Alright, we are basically done. Alright, so in real life, this tray would be like probably one more stage higher to accommodate for 9 cubes. This is probably like a 7 stacker. Okay, now we'll show you the cool things before. This actually kind of looks like disco, so that's pretty cool. So intakes, they're flip down intakes, which means they start like flipped up, and then when they deploy, they flip down into position. And right now the position is where it would be for the rest of the match. So when it begins the match, the intakes would be stowed up like this to make sure it fits in like the 18 by 18, like to make sure it fits in like within like the 18 inches like this. And the tray would stow something like this. Let me ground this. Oh dear, wrong part. Oh, janky constraints. My bad. I need to constrain one more thing. But the tray would fold in a similar fashion. Please work. Oh my god. Okay, I'm missing this hole, so... Oh wait, okay, I see. This would fix it. So basically the tray will fold in like this. And it will like make sure it stays within the height limit of 15 inches. Don't mind the other C channel, I need to fix that constraint as well. So it stays like within the height limit of 15 inches. And that's how it would start the match. And then when the match begins, the robot will flip into position like that. And it's ready to pick up cubes and do whatever it can to outscore the opponent. So yeah, that's basically it. And of course the arms go up like that. This doesn't pivot. The intakes won't pivot like this because it will be hard mount, not hard mount, but it would have like a hard stop somewhere. So I can just do a real quick angle constraint. -15, -15. How does a stacker straighten itself? Okay, that's a very good question that we didn't CAD today. Basically, you would have an angler in the back. So you essentially have like a pokey stick in the back. So you have like a bar going, or like a C-channel going from here, and it pushes the tray kind of like this forwards. It would push the tray until it's 90 degrees to the ground. So we have like a mechanism here somewhere. Yeah. Or you run a transmission, but please don't do that. And the arms finally will go up like this. And it can shoot the cubes in the towers at varying heights. And it can come back down and eat more cubes. Alright, that's all for today. I'm going to stop the recording.